Hello, beautiful reflections of me, and welcome to 97.3 WWJD and happy 11/11. We are in the 11/11 portal right now, and it has made me think back to my roots and how I got started in all of this. And I am so excited for today's guest because Alissa Norman is an amazing healer, and I loved learning from her. I learned Reiki 1 and 2 from her, and it was such an amazing experience. And we're going to learn all about Alissa and how she helps people heal and the different modalities she has. We'll even have a special treat of getting to experience a sample of her modalities. Well, at least one of them. But here to talk about her experience and her story is Alissa Norman.
Hi. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be on your show, Jessa. I'm so proud
Yeah.
of everything that you've done and how far you've come. It's been 5 years since our adventure began in November of 2020, actually. So,
Yeah.
wow, has time flown and a lot of things have happened since then. So, I'm happy to be here with you and to share.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about your story and how you got started and how you incorporated sound with that?
Yeah, definitely. So I do call this my third and final awakening. So over a couple different points of life, I started to move into this world, so to speak. Really, just more the authentic self, right? Shut it down a couple different times. In 2015, actually, is where that began. Started to move more into this again for my third time. But that was actually induced this time by a lot of medical concerns. My body was breaking down, things weren't taking care of it the way that traditional methods should, quote, right? And so after a couple of years of frustration with that, I really started off by just kind of screaming at the universe after throwing my back out one day, that there had to be something else. There has to be another way. There's got to be something because this is not the way to live. And through that, some divine intervention came in, Reiki came in, through the method of opening up Facebook and having a post somebody had shared of a new space that had opened, and they had just been attuned to the Holy Fire Reiki system. From the traditional we had such an impression of it, they made this message, and that's exactly what I opened up to. I wasn't quite sure what that was, so I had never even heard the word before. I literally just messaged and said, hey, I don't know what this is, but I'm drawn to it. Let's jump in. I want 4 weekly sessions. Let's do this. In that process, those 4 sessions, I was feeling better than I had in the 2 years and all the other physical therapies, different things I'd been doing. So at this point, I didn't quite understand it, but I wanted to continue to do work with him. He also was doing sound baths on Sundays. So every Sunday, at first I was like, okay, let's kind of explore this a little bit more. And I showed up to the very first one, and just the sounds and the way that they resonate and correspond to all of our chakras, we become so busy with life that we disconnect from our bodies. We don't pay attention to our emotions, let alone our reactions to outside effects, right? But having these hour sessions every week, because it became a habit, it became so entertaining and fulfilling that I just couldn't consume enough of it. So I would go every single week. And depending on the bowls that were playing, I would feel it in my body differently and feel the releases take place and feel the joy afterwards and getting lighter and lighter every time. So I actually had, after doing continued energy sessions that way, both with Reiki and with the sound baths, I decided I actually wanted to learn how to do it. So I picked up, her name's Eileen McCusick. She does the tuning the biofield energy, and she works with tuning forks, and she has a great book, but to be able to take her class, you have to have the prerequisite of the book. So at that point, I picked up the book. This is about 2018. She was doing things where she would come into Salt Lake and teach classes downtown. So I had picked up the book, read the book. I had all intentions to take her next class, which was supposed to be spring of 2020. Needless to say, everything was canceled and nothing happened. So I had a lot of foundation off of that, my own personal experiences. So I decided, well, I'm not going to wait until I take a class. My intuition was guiding me to it. So I started to collect my own bowls. And at first, actually, I incorporated them into Reiki classes. Then later on, I just started to do the crystal meditation sound baths that I do. I've done those for years now. We can talk more about that now or in a little bit, because it's about helping people to connect with themselves, recognize their energy, and also at the same time introducing to people crystals one at a time. That way they can strengthen their intuition and learn that self-discovery in a method similar to I did, because I think everything in this life is so experiential in nature. And when we can experience it, we get a liking for it, then we really do tend to dive in and learn more at our own self-pace.
I love that you said that, because that's exactly like my journey and how I met you is like I started off with so I wanted to be in massage. And so I originally wanted to do massage because it was what made me like, it's what I would do in my boredom. And then I couldn't get into school because it was too expensive. And so what happened is they were like, I knew about Reiki from the programs in massage school, and they and then I started looking into how to get certified in Reiki, because I wanted some form of that experience. And so I started experiencing Reiki, and just like you said, the more you do it, the more it you understand what it is and how beneficial it is, and you want to do it for yourself. And that's how I met you, is you through synchronicities. I think it was I was asking, I think I saw your flyer or something, I don't remember exactly, but I saw that you did Reiki 1 and 2, and I just want to talk about my experience with your attunement and the class, because it was such a sacred experience. Like I had never known that I wasn't supposed to use my own energy, because I'd been this natural healer. Like I'd been doing energy work without realizing it,
Yeah.
and you helped me realize that we're not supposed to use our own energy, and like all of the things that being around other people, how their energy affected mine. And when we were doing the attunement, just the visions I had and the amount of peace and the just overall joy that I was on the right path, and that, it was such a beautiful experience, and it felt like such a safe space. And just when we were working on each other, because there were other girls in our class, and just it was so cool to just be able to follow our intuition and know where we were needed and what parts where we were needed. Like it was so weird to like watch us just float around each other and just intuitively know what parts we were needed for. And it I felt when I had the attunement, it was weird for me because you had told us to like cleanse our bodies by eating healthy, and that was really hard for me. All I ate for like a week was nuts, and like because that was the only thing that I could like eat that I liked. And so but the clearing that like being in that receptive stage and making my body a vessel for that energy. It's just, it really changed my life and put me on the path I am today. And I'm so grateful that I met you. And I'm so grateful that you're on my show today, because it's like we've come full circle. And, it's like, I actually am here as a Reiki master now. And so it's just like, I feel this honor and gratitude, and not in debt necessarily, but I just feel like I'm here because of you. And it's just, it was such a blessing to be able to join you in that class and learn from you and experience your magic, So
Thank
I'd love to
you.
hear about like how your experience, like what you remember from our like from our class, and like how like the teacher side of things, like what was going through your head, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Gosh, it feels like the way back when machine. It's only been
So
that long.
long.
It's like so many lifetimes in this lifetime.
Yeah.
So at that point, I had been teaching Reiki. That would have been coming just right over a year mark for me. But you hit some key components right there on your head, right? What you just shared that are like near and dear to my heart. Because when we are connecting with the Holy Fire Reiki energy, what we're really doing and what's different about Holy Fire is our attunements or placements, where I don't come and play the middle person and give you anything. The way that we conduct these are where source energy and those Reiki guides are making a direct connection with you through your higher self. So I just love watching people light up because you hit it right there. It's that intuitive side. We so often do energy work naturally, in loving, caring, compassionate ways, just not always to the best of our service to, in our own health, because we only have so much life force in a day. So if we go give it away to everybody else, that tends to not fare well for us. So once we understand that and we get to change that. But I really remember, and you outlined too, that Reiki dance, right? When that intuition comes in and when you're just guided to the next place, and we don't analyze and think kind of in the same way that we're used to doing before. And we really get into that flow state because we are the vessel. So that energy is just coming in through us and going to where it needs to go. A lot of us don't trust that initially, though, until some verified experiences. And one of the things I love about in class is when you're called to go somewhere and maybe someone else is already there. It's just a validation that your intuition's spot on. So then you get the next place. And this person that's being worked on at the time is actually getting helped by multiple people, magnifying those results even further. So I love the experiences and the healing that takes place. And I remember we had some really thought-provoking conversations with the things that had come out from that, which were, again, really validating for not just the person sharing, but also the other people around. Because in these experiences, there's a lot of shared themes or messages, sometimes even symbols, that come together that just tie the synergy of the group together. So I never know how classes are going to come together. They're always together in divine orchestration. So for me as a facilitator, I just love watching to see how each one comes together and how they merge and the relationships that continue even afterwards, because we really do become family when we get so intimately intertwined in these experiences when we do a 2-day intensive event like that. But it's just so wonderful to watch the empowerment that takes place and how people come in not knowing, a little uncertain, and I'm not quite sure, do I really belong here? Well, and then at the end they're walking out and they're like, I am glowing and I'm going to go take this out there and I can't wait to put this to use. And they're usually heads full of different ways of using Reiki, because it's not always in the method of, healing with a hands-on treatment, right? Because it's a way of life. You can use energy in so many different ways, whether it's blessing your own water. I can't help but put it into the food that I create. I drive past an accident and I'm sending Reiki that way. I've got somebody going through something, I send Reiki that way. When I make my candles and my bath bombs, I activate Reiki in all my creations. Like it is just a way of being.
I have to say, in our class, when you first said that story about you being in the shopping center and you were just blasting Reiki, still, like, I still think of that. Like every time I pass an accident or the energy is dense, I'm just like, I feel like I'm channeling you, and I'm just like,
You're channeling yourself. You're channeling that. But I'm glad that was
that's true. Yeah, but it's channeling the Reiki, and so it's just funny that, like, I feel like I'm doing my part, like that I'm contributing to society and helping the world be a better place by doing that. And I wanted to touch on something, how you said you intuitively know the placements and stuff and how your hands move. And that's actually something that I've kind of enhanced the way I do Reiki. Like like because of what you said, I trust my hands to do these all kinds of weird motions, even if it's not the placements. It's like I will listen to music and I'll be like, Like it's just so funny to like watch how I can play with energy and how my hands want to move and just trusting. Like when I work on people, it's different every time. I don't do the same thing twice, and it's just watching like the way the energy moves through me and it takes over my body, but like how I can trust my intuition and trust my hands are doing it has this sacred knowledge that um I may not consciously know, but my body remembers and my body knows what it's doing, and trusting that is just like, I attribute that all to you and that first attunement teaching me that to trust myself and trust to know where to go and that my hands know what they're doing. And I remember in our thing, when you told us we could use our tongue and our eyes for Reiki,
Yeah.
I didn't believe you, but so throughout the years, I've been doing these symbols with my tongue, and like I felt it coming out of my eyes. It's the strangest thing, like to just exude love and light from every pore of your body is just amazing. Like I've seen people who like they're just in my energy, they're just near me, and they just their energy and demeanor changes. Like it's just powerful to see, like I'm just being me and I'm just being the light that I am, and it just happens to heal those around me. It's been a beautiful blessing, and I'm so grateful to you for it.
Oh, my pleasure. No, it's such an honor. In all these years, I've got over a couple hundred students here, not just in the state, but across the valley. A lot of them have moved out of town or even came into town for class. So like that is the hope that, or my desired hope to have that instilled. I really call Reiki the gateway to energy work,
Yeah.
because if that foundation's there and you can trust it, the intuition leads the way, and when you're a transponder and you're embodying that energy, you don't have to do things. Like it's just you being you, and that authentic expression allows others to have access to the energy and allowing themselves to be their authentic self. And it is such a ripple effect that takes place. There's just oh my gosh, I just love that. And some of these things sound a little like far out there, right? Because the beauty of Holy Fire really tying in the Western style, but bringing back in all of the original Japanese style and techniques. So that's the eyes. And I use my eyes a lot because heck, if I can have my hands in one spot, be sending Reiki to another spot, like
Yeah.
just it's so
I
cool.
feel like an octopus, like there's, yeah, like you can touch so many spots. But I do want to touch on how you said that Reiki is a gateway, because we both have like taken that path and gone on completely different directions. Like I learned pranic healing and kind of created my own modality around channeled songs and stuff. But you did release. Oh. Anyways, the quantum healing, I've been so excited to learn more about that, the quantum healing hypnosis. And can you tell us a little bit about how you learned that modality and what it helps with, and just all about it?
Yeah, for sure. All of my modalities really come together and they work synergistically or independently. QHHT, quantum healing hypnosis technique, was created by Dolores Cannon. So after a couple decades of refinement, so I took the training directly from them. That's the only way to get that. As much as I love Dolores and I had read her books and had watched a lot of other practitioners' stories and other people's, I never really had it on my intention to be a practitioner. That wasn't quite the path that I was like, okay, that's what I'm seeing and that's what I'm going for. But that gateway to energy work, right? That foundation, that intuitive knowledge and that trusting in yourself. The way that actually happened is I was going to go to bed one night and it was a pretty busy week. And as I was getting ready to go to bed, my higher self and team were like, no, you're going to watch some. I'm like, I have to get up in the morning. They're like, no, turn on Gaia. And I'm like, okay. And I turned on Gaia and I'm like, well, what am I watching here? And a show that I was watching a lot, Interview with an ED, it was Ruben Langdon, where he interviewed different channelers. And in this particular episode I was drawn to was a new one that he had just loaded, and Suzanne Spooner, who's a level 3 QHHT practitioner, was interviewing with him. And then they were doing a demonstration with somebody who she puts under to collect information. And then also on top of that, another fascination of mine is Max the Crystal Skull was also present. So I ended up consumed in these 2-hour episodes and had to like catch it. But as I was, and the information coming from that just sung to my soul. And I went and got on the page and I looked, and it was honestly, it was the end of November, and my son's birthday's the end of November. My daughter's the day after Christmas. That is the time of year that I do not plan on spending $1,200 on myself. But then I put it down and tried to dismiss it. And then it kept popping back up, and it starts popping in my feed, and then I start getting emails about it. And then they ran a little special where it was like $200 off. It was Black Friday special, right? And then it just kept hitting me. And I was like, this won't stop. Okay, I'm listening now. And I just pulled out my credit card and threw it on there. And I was like, you guys better prove to me what we're doing here. I don't know. I'm trusting, and let's just do this. So that's really how it began. The more that I got into it, though, is just fascinating because I see how connected it is, how it's validating in different ways, and how it's a beautiful tool to help people get the answers from themselves. So sometimes I intuitively get it, but it's different when you hear it from someone else. But when you hear the message out of your own words for yourself, from yourself, it has a different resonance that kind of hits in a way that most people take different action, and then hearing it from someone else that may still seem too good to be true or outside of their realm. So that's how it actually began.
So do you have any examples of those breakthroughs you were talking about that you've witnessed from doing it?
Yeah. So I guess let me share just a little bit. These sessions are quite long. So if anybody's not familiar with them, we run 5 to 6, but we'll always go as long as we need to. So a couple of them sometimes do go up to 8 hours. So we spend a time in interview. So we get to know what somebody is looking for, what their concerns are. Sometimes that's almost always a path and purpose. What am I here for? Why have I got these experiences? Health related questions. So we spend time getting to know that. Then we go into an experience, which is going to go into a past life. And that past life has relevant information that we're looking to collect for the person to help them in the very best way now. And we advance through that lifetime and collect details, which are always so phenomenal. I never know where somebody's going to land. And we go a little bit of everywhere and anywhere, past, present, and future. And then I call in their higher self. And when I call in their higher self, or their super conscious, that knows all things that person has ever done in this lifetime, all other lifetimes, and the reason why they're here. We all have one main guide that comes in with us. We have a lot of other guides too. But this is the tools that when people have their questions and they're getting their answers, it changes things. So one I actually just had recently, this just happened the past week. So in this lifetime, there was a struggle with the parents. The mother-daughter relationship was always a broken dynamic, kind of a daddy's girl, but this contention between the mother and daughter just has always been there, never understood, and felt really disconnected from as long as she could ever remember. So they've made peace with it, and they just kind of go about their own way in their adult lives. But she didn't know why that ever was, because that can be a disheartening thing. You're like, my mom's supposed to love me unconditionally. Why does my mom kind of hate me, right? Like, that's not anything anybody wants to experience. And then when we got into that experience, the awareness came up that they have interchanged lifetimes and positions. So they played sisters, they played mother-daughter in different roles before, and there was actually different series of events that had taken place in different roles. So as much as she felt restricted in this lifetime and omitted from that love, that was actually a turning of the table of a previous event that they agreed to come in and play the opposite roles. So she had no idea that she had been something similar. Not necessarily that she meant to. In this case, it was actually somebody who she had passed away during childbirth. But the mother in this lifetime, child in that lifetime, was disheartened that her mother had abandoned her and left her. So in this lifetime, the flip of the coin, she was abandoned by the mother, and the mother was living the other side of things. So just the understanding of that has changed the perspective, just literally instantaneously, of how she's perceived the relationship with her mother this entire time. Because the other parts that we don't always know that we brought in before this place, that we came in with an intention, but we don't have the background behind that intention. So we look at it through this lens that's very limited in scope. But the higher self really has a purpose behind what all of our experiences are. So that's just one. But a lot of times it is, people will have experiences that they don't understand, or maybe it's a reoccurring dream, memories that they have, and they're like, why is this happening? Or why does this keep reoccurring? But it's all about power. But because they can't match it into something in the outside world right now, they don't grab a hold of it. They don't action it. They don't believe it to be true or even feasible. But it is so tangible. All the emotions are there. The memories come flooding back in these experiences that you can't doubt it and you can't dismiss it. And so I've watched people come out of there and they're like, all right, I'm doing this project and this is what I want and that's where I'm going. And there's just like no fear, no worry. It's just certainty. And that is so empowering, because when we're in our humanness, it's just what we do. We go back and forth and weigh the pros and cons and try to place it in outside things that might match or, make sense of it, a book, another person. And a lot of these things we're doing right now just don't have a guidebook to them. So I've got tons of stories. I could talk all day on those. So ask any questions you have additional.
Well, actually, now I'd like to, because you talked about how there was something you said, and I have a horrible memory, so I fish brain, but something you mentioned made me think of how the thought, like the patterns and the emotions behind those relationships from the past or past lives and stuff, how those come into our lives. And I wonder, I know you do emotion code. Do you do those things together to kind of help heal those emotions that are from those past lives? And how does emotion code work?
That's a great question. So I don't run those two together, but I do have a method that works just a similar, what's the right word I'm looking for? In a very similar fashion. Okay, the right word's not coming to my mind. Okay. We're just flowing in energy right now. English is hard. We're multidimensional and English is only one language.
Just wait till we start talking in light language.
Exactly. Some people out there will pick it up. So actually, when we are working in that deep subconscious state, the method of emotion code is a manual method. It is a very lovely, non-invasive method that really doesn't bring up the trauma to experience those releases. I'll share a little bit more about that in a minute. But when it comes to the emotion code, QHHT, the higher self is completely in charge. So I'm actually only a questionnaire. I'm a guide. I'm just saying, tell me more. What happens next? Okay, they had a question on this. Is this connected to that? So I am just completely along for the ride. They're telling me a story and I'm asking more questions to get more information. But what's so fascinating is because it's working from this higher state of consciousness with the assistance of that higher self that knows what they need and what they can handle, what they're ready for. I don't have to go into the understanding of what it is or a manual process of helping them through that. I literally just ask for it. So when I ask if there's, sometimes it's a body scan and they will tell me, or I'll say, okay, they're having a lot of thoughts and things, where are those coming from? I actually ask for the higher self to do the healing. So we've had things like rewiring. So they've told me, oh, we need to do some rewiring here. I'm like, okay, will you do that for me? They're like, yep. I'm like, okay, tell me when you're done. And they will actually create balance and do that process much faster than I ever could. And actually, another great example of that is in a body scan the other day, they were pulling and scanning, and they were like, oh, they've got devices. They've got these implants. Oh, these have been blocking their journey. And I'm like, okay, great. Can you take care of those? They were aware of those. And that was one of the things they wanted some help with today. Yes. And then they start telling me where they're located. Okay, that's gone. Okay, that's gone. Okay, that's gone. And they're like, well, here's a cord. This cord goes lifetime, many lifetimes back, connected to a person in this lifetime. And so I'm like, great, can you take care of that one for me? And they worked on it for a little while, called in some extra assistance because it needed it. So all I am doing is asking for it, and the fantastic results and how quick it is, that their higher self will just take care of it and know exactly what they have. I don't have to go through any guesswork or the layering process that we normally do with emotion code.
So I know you have to go soon, but do you have time for a quick emotion code sample to end on? Cool.
Yeah, I'll explain a little bit about that. So, emotion code was created by Bradley Nelson, Dr. Bradley Nelson. He was a chiropractor here, actually from Utah. He lives down in the St. George area. And he, through his chiropractic practice, started to recognize that people were holding emotions in particular areas of their body. And that as many times as he was adjusting someone, kept having the same result, right? Because the energetic with the physical, our body is so holistic in nature. So he ended up taking some notes and coming out. I don't know if you can kind of see. I'll explain this a little bit more, but just to see the color codings of this chart. So what we end up doing with emotion code is the subconscious knows. The body keeps score. The conscious mind is only operating like 15% of what we actually do. So I use the arm to muscle test. And if somebody can't muscle test, or if I'm doing a virtual session like we'll do right now, I use my arm and I tap into that person's energy field. So if there is a strong answer and I push, the arm won't drop. If it's a non-truthful, non-responsive answer, there's no resistance and the arm just goes down. So I am applying exactly the same pressure every time, but asking questions. And then I'm paying attention to the ones that have the resistance, because that's the truthful answer.
I've seen the one where you go like this, and if it's a yes, it's like that, or I forget. I know that's a form of it.
Yeah. So with the fingers, if they link and they stay together, it's a yes. And if they break apart, it's a no.
Okay,
And there's
that's
also a
why.
sway test. No, you're great. And there's also a sway test that when you ask yourself a question or bring something, this is what I do with my herbs each day and my supplements. If I bring them to my body and if I need them, you'll naturally be drawn towards what you need. And if there's something you don't need, you'll naturally be held back. So it's a great way to select crystals, to develop your intuition, or for my case, just to see what vitamins I need each day without taking some if I don't need them, because my body knows what it needs. So yes, great ways to practice with that. And I think that's a physical manifestation of also trusting your intuition and talking to your body. Very similar to the sound. So when somebody is going through something, I might have somebody that just comes in and they're like, I feel stuck and I'm not going anywhere, or keep having these recurring thoughts and I can't shake this, or this trauma from my past just won't go away. It's usually linked to the trapped emotions. So our body will go through an experience, and we have all sorts of traumas, life experiences, less than desirable experiences, lots of positive ones too, but we kind of anchor into some of those less than desirable ones. So we can make it through the experience and then be like, oh my gosh, I survived it, right? And we get to the other side and we keep living. But we never really go back and tell our body, whew, we made it, you can let that go now. So our body keeps holding on to it, and it roots, and then it starts grabbing new friends, right? And starts building on top of itself. Then what ends up happening is, even if it's not the same person, even if it's not the same situation, our body is holding this tension and these emotions that are high strung. And if something starts to look even closely similar to it, our body will act and bring up those past experiences, connecting them together, even if they're completely not. So that is debilitating. And some people really won't go forward in their life because they are afraid, or they've got this limitation, or feel unsupported, unworthy, just some of the emotions that come from that. So when we tap into the subconscious, we're overriding that conscious mind, and we're asking the body to help us to link and label. Because a lot of processes that we have now, if it's recent, we can look at the experience, we can rewrite it, reframe it, and choose to do something different. But when it's something that maybe happened when we were 7 and our mom told us that a bad guy is going to come get us if we don't listen and do whatever that is, like, we can instill some fear. We can feel unsafe and insecure, and we can carry that with us forever, not knowing that that's where it stemmed from. As innocent as it is in its original intention and form, it can carry an imprint. And if we don't know that that happened when we went into the Macy's store at 10, like, we can't go back and reframe that and say, oh, I'm safe, little one, you're safe, you're okay. And because they get buried on top of all the other experiences. So when we're doing this, we can leave it very general. Just, what does the body have it wants to bring up? Or if somebody's got that targeted issue, we say, what trapped emotions do you have connected to XYZ? It can be a relationship. It can be a time in life. It can be a specific event. So that's how we're always formulating it to match. And then with this chart, there's 64 trapped emotions. So it's a very methodical process where I go A, B, even, odd. And once I find which box it is, there's 5 listed within that box. Then I name those 5 to find out which ones your body's indicating the response on. Then I ask if there's more information that needs to be known. If there is, then we'll ask additional questions. If there's not, I just ask if we can let it go. And if we can, then I actually have a magnet. And this magnet I run down the spine, or if I'm doing work this way, I'll run it over the head. Grand meridian is what we're working with. And with every stroke down that grand meridian, it is grabbing that and extracting it out of your cellular memory. So it's purging it from the system. And my clients, when we're doing that work, can have different sensations. So sometimes they'll have a memory of what it was connected to when I say the emotion. They may have a person, a place, a thing pop in. They may feel the sensation in their body as that's being released, like the kicks, the shivers, the fuzzies. So it's really cool how tangible it is too. But essentially we just link, label, and purge. Link, label, purge, and we clear out what we can. And this is like onion layers, right? So we can't just clear everything all in one night, but we clear out things and then the body gets to resettle. I see it like Jenga. It's kind of like, you don't need that, and you don't need that, you don't need that. We fuck those things out. And then they're no longer impeding. And so when you go to do that new thing, you no longer have those sneaky little ones in the back of your mind going, hey, we've been here before, right? Instead, it empowers the person to go, oh, I've got excitement behind this now, instead of having that naysayer in the background. So if you'd like, I can tap into your energy and we can maybe, clear 5 or so and kind of give an example of what that looks like doing it remotely.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. So I think the main thing that I am struggling with is stability and like financial freedom, or like just stability in all forms, monetarily, house-wise. I'm about to be homeless, and just a lot of things blocking me. I feel like just yesterday, everything was falling apart. And I know that everything has to fall apart for the universe to give you what you want, but it doesn't make it any easier. And so I'm just kind of at a loss for how to get out of this pattern that I have of losing everything that I have and having my feet swept out from under me. And
it's very valid. Okay. That really sucks that you're going through that, but I know you'll get to the other side and it will make sense at some point, right? So yeah, let me just tap in and we'll definitely focus on the stability and see what comes up and clear a few of those out of your path for you. So let me just
I want you to know that I can't stop fidgeting. I know you can't see it on camera, but like I'm anxious.
Oh, nothing to be anxious about. Just breathe, darling.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just going to tap into your energy here. Make sure. Okay, good. Yes, Jessa, Alissa, Jessa. Okay, I am reading for you now. So I am going to ask, are there any trapped emotions connected to Jessa that are related to stability we can release today? I don't know if you can see my arm. Okay. Yes. Okay, I'm going to go A, B, even, 2, 4. Depression, frustration, indecisiveness. Okay, do we need to know more? Nope. Can we let it go? Yep. Okay, so now I am going to release for you the trapped emotion of indecisiveness. Now, I have a few things that I like to share, and I'm going to just share briefly on this one. Indecisiveness happens when it becomes a trapped. It's usually because our mind is pulling out all the things we know, expectations, societal, right? When we are making a decision and we find ourselves struggling with indecisiveness, bring it into your heart. And for me, I physically would like drag it down into my heart and let the heart start having more of a say than the mind. The mind deserves a time and space because it protects us, it keeps us safe. But when we find ourselves in spinning out chaos, bring it into your heart, because your heart makes more sense of things, and start making some decisions from here. And the path gets clearer when you bring it into your heart. So as you navigate your journey, remember your heart when it comes to making decisions, and let your body sensations, again, have a play in that. Okay.
So can I share what I felt? Because I want people to know that I felt that. So when like the words were spot on, that was like exactly the things that I'm feeling. And then when you started doing that, I felt tingles down my spine first, and then like a tingling down my arms, and my feet are no longer shaking. I think that's why I had to say that before, because like I'm no longer nervous. And so yeah, that's crazy. But the other thing is the, like, there was no memory or any, like, I just was able to let it go. And like, letting go is really hard for me because I feel like there's some sort of like, I have to physically do something to let it go. So it's really powerful to see that I just could sit here and I'm already in a more calm, like just releasing those, like in the 2 seconds that it took, like was just a complete change in my demeanor. And like, that's just super, I'm super impressed. And I had done emotion code before, and it was way back before I even started Reiki, but
Mm.
there were so many emotions we were releasing and it didn't seem to do anything. Like I was just like, yeah, now I know all of these emotions I'm dealing with. Thanks. Like now I know, yes, I know what the problem is, but how do I solve it? And that was even in person. And she would do it on my back and I didn't feel a difference. But I'm just so surprised that like, even in all of this distance and over the internet and with all these people watching, it was just like I connected. And maybe it's just because I'm attuned to energy work now and like I understand it and I like connected with my guides, but I don't know. I'm very impressed, and I I think people could benefit a lot from even just the emotion code, but I know you do so many more things, but we are running out of time. I know you have to go.
Yeah,
But
I
I
can do a
wonder
few
if
more
you,
minutes, but yeah, like I do have to open up my store, so.
okay, so how about you just tell us, this is our last question anyways. Can you tell us how all of your modalities work together and what message you would like our listeners to know about sound healing or any of the other modalities that you have and how they can benefit people?
Yeah, so with all my modalities, and I've got even more we haven't completely, like just tools in my toolbox, right?
Yeah.
But my goal is, and you hit it right there. Thank you for sharing your perspective on that, because energy doesn't know time space limitations, and we can really work in so many different ways. And with all my modalities, they work synergistically, so we can pair them together. So emotion code with Reiki is actually like 90% of my sessions. People pair those together. So we pluck what doesn't be needed, and then we smoothen out that energy field and recharge it up and just make it all warm and cozy. So that's actually what a lot of them do. But everything for me is not about, I am nothing more than a vessel. I am a tool for the universe here to bring energy in, take the skills and the tools that I know, my own personal journey and experience of life, and help people through wherever they are. So all of my tools are very at a subconscious level, very non-trauma bringing up, right? Whatever comes up for somebody, I'll always hold space for, but we don't have to dig into. I'm not going to ask you to go relive the past to heal it or to rewrite it now, because we can do it in these other subtle ways. So I have the tools to be able to meet people wherever they are. And not everybody's ready to jump into the deep end. So QHHT for some people will scare the living daylight out of them. Whereas maybe more, let me just have that feeling and sensation of energy running through me might be where they begin. And so everything is really about just meeting someone where they are, identifying what their needs are, and helping them to get to the next level. But it's the underlying principle behind it all is trusting the intuition, because we know we have all the answers, but we don't always have a guide or someone we even trust, or even knowing that it exists, to even know to grow towards it or to develop it. So to be able to have those conversations with people, to do that positive reinforcement, the encouragement, sometimes a little homework comes in assignments too, to work on certain areas to progress that further for the individual. But I just want everybody to know that they are as powerful as anybody that they admire. We all have our own piece of a story. We're not meant to be cookie cutters. And the world would be really lame, actually, if we were all doing the same thing the same way. But in our culture, we've been raised to conditioned to be what everybody else is being as a measure of success. But our authentic self is the most precious gift we have, and to fully embody our authentic self. And like you said earlier, it just radiates from you, and it allows others to feel it and to feel more comfortable doing it. And that's what we really do to change the world. We don't change the world by screaming about it and fighting about it. We change the world by being what we want to see more of. And as we do, it's just insurmountable, the exponential growth that takes place at that point. So I just
Be
like
the change you want to see in the world.
exactly. Exactly. Oh,
But
beautiful words of wisdom.
I did want to touch on what you said, how it's subconscious, because like while you were talking, you weren't doing anything special, but I was sitting here releasing. I was trying not to burp really loud, but like I was sitting there releasing several times. Like that's the thing about energy work, is you don't have to be conscious about it. Just you are what people need, you know? And so I want you to know that you have always been what I needed. And I am sure many more people need you. And I hope that they can find you through here. But I want to touch on real quick before we leave, how people can find you, and a little bit about your store if you have time, and just tell us where we can see more of you.
Okay, yeah, great. I'd love to connect with anybody who resonates, and I'm always down for a touch base and to feel things out. So I left my corporate job in 2020. I never thought I would have ever done that. It was a great job, but this was definitely a calling for me. So as I've spent time in a couple different spaces, I've landed here in Holiday, Utah. I have a spot called Healing Light. And it's a crystal shop. That's another passion of mine, is crystals. I pull them from the earth myself, process them, all sorts of goodies with that, and create with them. So we're at 2344 East Murray Holiday Road, and my store hours are Tuesday through Friday, looking to expand that for the holiday season right now. So I do all of my sessions here. I also do them remotely, and then I have the store hours open, so people can always just come in and shop or to chat.
Do you have a website or anything?
Yeah, I was going to say the best way to probably learn more, even though I don't have the store stuff on the website, but as far as healing modalities and offerings, some testimonials and things from feedback, is at thehealinglight.love.
Awesome.
So
and I'll include that down below too.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And if somebody's on Instagram or on Facebook, you can look us up, look me up. I guess it's just me, at Healing Light. And then I put SLC at the end for Salt Lake City, so that can narrow right into me, and they can follow me there, where I'm sharing a lot of information, some of the biohacking things that we've got coming up, lots of different ways to help people in their biofield energy.
And just in case someone does want, because I know I'm one of them, in case someone wants to have a session with you, do you have any discounts for this podcast or for the Christmas season or Thanksgiving season?
Yeah, I haven't loaded the holiday stuff in yet, but yeah, let's go ahead and say, if anybody wants to do something with me and they're coming in off of your show, I will go plug into my scheduler discount code for you, and we'll do 20% off of the session. So let's use the code Jessa20.
Perfect.
And then if they put in Jessa20 in my scheduler system, it'll automatically take 20% off whatever session they choose. And we'll do that from now
to the end of the year. That code?
Yes, of course. So that'll give anybody 20% off any session between now and the end of the year. Just use Jessa20 to do that. And you can include that in your notes too. So people watching the replay can get that.
Perfect. Well, I am so happy you were able to join me, and I know I took a lot longer than we were supposed to, and I appreciate your time. And everyone who's listening, you've got to experience Alissa in some way or form, whether it's through her classes or through her healing sessions or just going to her store. You will not be disappointed, because she is amazing, and just meeting her is healing. So I'd love for anyone to come check her out, because my life changed because of her, and I think it'll change yours too. So on that note, thank you everyone for coming to this episode today. And I do want to mention that this was the 11th episode, and we started on 11/11, and we're in the 11/11 portal. So this was a super powerful episode, and I'm so grateful.
I am too. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure connecting and hearing how everything's come together after all these years. And definitely, you're an inspiration. Good job doing what you're doing and sharing these messages out there.
And that's the thing, is we all have our own purpose. And, you know, even if there's a ton of Reiki healers or any, with all these modalities, there's always room for more. And that's one of the things you taught me, is there will never be enough healers and we can always use more. So thank you,
Yeah.
everyone.